All right, let's talk about PlayStation. PSN, the PlayStation Network, was down this week, and it was down for more than 24 hours, according to some users. For me, I experienced an outage on Friday evening. I was trying to create an extra PlayStation PSN account for one of my grandkids that was coming over to visit, and I wanted them to be able to retain their saves on my console and have their own profile. But they're not. They're too young, so they're not old enough to have their own email addresses. So I went to create this account for them on Friday evening, and sure enough, I got an error. And then I got on my computer and went on my web browser and went to the PlayStation Network website, and I tried creating the account via the web browser, and I came into another error. Now at that point, I was like, okay, something's going on. My PlayStation 5 crashed with some like error also when I was booting up. At one point, it was trying to apply an update, I think, and but there was no indication an update was running. And anyways, that's a whole different issue. We'll make another video about that. But we go ahead. I'm not able to create the accounts, so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Then I found out on Twitter that, or on X, that everybody was experiencing an issue with PlayStation Network being down. Some people were unable to play games. Some people were unable to play online games for sure. There was no Call of Duty, no Warzone. None of that was working. No Fortnite. All of that was down on the PlayStation Network. But the one that got a lot of people is that there's a lot of people that game share, and I do it myself because I have two PlayStation 5s. I got a PlayStation 5 Pro, and I got my original base PlayStation 5 that's in the living room. The one in the living room, that's the one that my grandkids play on, so I do have separate profiles for them on there. And because I set that as my console where my license is, that console doesn't need to be online to play my games on there. Doesn't require it to be online. Now for my PlayStation 5 Pro, because I don't have it set up like that on my PlayStation 5 Pro, because you can only have one console set up as yours, as your main one. My PS5 Pro is not set up as my main one, so I couldn't start any games because it said we're unable to verify your license, play this game, even though I was doing it under my own account. So I experienced that issue with the PlayStation 5 Pro. Like I mentioned, network play, so multiplayer games, everything was down. Fortnite was down, Call of Duty was down, everything, Rocket League, all of that stuff was unplayable on the PlayStation Network for about 24 hours this past weekend, starting about Friday evening, lasting until Saturday evening. Now the reason why this is concerning is that during this whole time, this whole outage, Sony did not give any updates. They were silent most of the time. There might have been a tweet or two from a PlayStation support account saying we're experiencing issues, and that was it. They might have provided a link where they can see the status of the service running, the health page for PlayStation Network. But yeah, they were not being forthcoming about what was happening and what was the reason why the network was down. Now, on the error that I got on the PlayStation when I was trying to create an account this past weekend was, oh, we're down for maintenance. I didn't explain that it was planned maintenance. They just said we're down for maintenance, and it gave me that error. Now, when I went to create the account on the website, it gave me a whole different error. It said cannot communicate with the server when I was about to create the account. So multiple fronts, everybody was affected. Oh, so a lot of people that have digital games were not able to play them if they had their main PlayStation set up as another one, which a lot of people do that for game sharing, where some people might have their profile on one PlayStation, mark that one as their own, even though it is not, so that people can play the games on there from a different profile. But yeah, so that feature wasn't working. So people that were set up that way weren't able to play. Now, people that had a PlayStation 5 Pro or even a PS5 Slim, if they just bought it, or if they just bought the disk drive for that, when people were connecting the disk drive to the PlayStation 5 Pro and were trying to activate it, it wouldn't work because to pair a disk drive to a PlayStation, it has to be activated online on the PS5, on the PSN network. That's a requirement. So uh, even people that had physical copies were not able to play the game if they didn't have their disk drive register with their or paired already with their console before the outage. So that means if you bought a PlayStation over this weekend when doing the outage, you were not able to create a profile on it uh, because the network was down. You were not able to use your disk drive because you bought a disk drive because the network was down. You couldn't play with your physical copies in that case. Now, if you had if the PlayStation was set up as yours, as your own, as this is the only one that you're sharing, then you were able to play your games offline. Because I was able to do that with the PlayStation 5 that's in my living room. With the PlayStation 5 Pro that I have here, right here in this room, I was not able to do that with. But yeah, so why is it concerning? Because Sony did not give any indication what was happening, and it brought reminders of the PlayStation hack of 2011. You probably don't remember if you were too young, but it was a big deal. PlayStation Network got hacked in 2011. I believe all of Sony got hacked, and PlayStation included. And PlayStation got hacked, and the PSN network was down for 23 days. 23 days. For 23 days, people could not uh, create accounts or play multiplayer games online on the PS3 back then because the network was down for 23 days. Now, Sony did make up by giving away some free games. I remember I got Wipeout HD on the PlayStation 3. And there was another game that I think that I was supposed to get. I think they gave away like 2 or 3 games from their that they were downloadable games, right? So they were part of the PlayStation downloadable game library at that time. Now, what was concerning about that outage, yeah, it was 23 days, which is the longest that I ever heard or seen or heard about on a gaming network. But also that there was approximately about 77 million accounts that were compromised. So the hackers got away with everybody's email address, everybody's date of birth, passwords, and financial details such as credit card and debit card information. So if you had a card that was attached to your PlayStation account in 2011 when this hack occurred, you had to get your card replaced because the hackers took that information from PlayStation. So it was only right that PlayStation gave away some free games to make up for it. Now, in the outage that just happened this weekend, which was about 24 hours for that outage, Sony did put a statement out there that they're gonna give everybody an extra 5 days of PlayStation Plus. So if you have the PlayStation Plus, which is required to play online, in my case, I think I have the essential. I had the one before the premium, so I got the extra and PlayStation Plus, and yeah, so I'm getting 5 days more added to my billing cycle, I believe. Now I don't know how it affects me because I pay yearly, so I wonder if they're gonna add 5 days to my year. So my expiration date now is gonna be 5 days later than it originally would have been before the outage. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I just wanted to inform you a little bit about PlayStation Network outage and also some of the history behind this outage from previous outages, what has occurred, and the fact that Sony did not put a statement explaining what was going on. It wasn't scheduled maintenance. It could have been a cyber attack. I believe that days prior, Azure, which is the Microsoft Cloud Network, did fight a DDoS attack, a denial or distributed denial of service attack. So it's possible that Sony might have been facing such an attack as well. But that's speculation at this time. They haven't provided any statement that would be official stating what occurred that took the PlayStation Network down. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Click like and subscribe. Enjoy, and yeah, happy Super Bowl Sunday.